Hey everybody, T.O. from Art Geek Teaching. Today we're going to look at part 2 of Resin Art with Waterslide Decal coming up. Okay, I've got some coffee mica mixed with alcohol. I've got some bronze mixed with alcohol. I have some white mica mixed with alcohol. Have one small little spray bottle of alcohol. I have duo green purple that we're going to use for this one. This color is just by Resin. I'm sorry, just Resin. It's ruby, and then black diamond vivid orange is going to go on this guy. These three are just pure resin. I may put a little bit of white over them. I like to put a little bling in it. You can't really see it unless you get it in the light. This blue morph butterfly is going to get black diamond brand cobalt diamond blue, and my spring turquoise blue. And then, I'm not sure about this. This is going to get Tuscan Sunset and Imperial Red. I also have some purple spray paint and some gold spray paint. First thing I'm going to do is put some alcohol in a bunch of little cups. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. And then I will begin to mix up the micas. It's not going to take very much of any of this stuff. So let me get some isopryl alcohol, I'll pour in there. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and change these up. Maybe use as many of these as possible. These are just recycled from junk food. I'm going to make a paste first of my micas. We'll see how many that gives us. Okay, so we'll make a paste first, and then we will add resin to it after we get our resin mixed. Okay, turquoise blue. The challenge with using the black ones is you can't see them, right? My turquoise blue might be used on more than one. I'm just going to set it aside. Okay, I think on this short version, I'm just going to voice over the rest of this so that I can speed up the video. I'll put a long play version up also, but you know, it was like an hour and a half or something. And so this way people will get the opportunity to get the gist of what's happening. And if they want to go to the full one, they can, but they don't have to sit through that entire thing. This will be long enough. So anyway, all I'm doing here is going to mix up some of the mica powders, and I did that in the small little bowls there that were just recycled from, you know, junk food, sauces or whatever. And so I'm just really putting, you could see just a dollop of the mica powders in each one of those cups, and then I added isopryl alcohol to it. Actually, I put the alcohol in first, and then I added my little micas to it. And I will say that in this particular case here, I've used way more isopryl alcohol than what was needed. It just generally works best if I mix it up in kind of a slurry, more of a paste. And this is way too loose. So I used too much alcohol. I mean, it works okay. It works fine. But I like the results better when I don't use quite as much alcohol. And so for this project, I'm using Stone Coat Countertop. If I'm trying to do any manipulation, I tend to use Stone Coat because it is thicker. The viscosity is much different with Stone Coat Countertop than art resin, for example, and I needed something that was a little thicker. As it turns out, the studio is pretty cold. I think it's only 64 degrees, and so you know, the resin is pretty chunky. It's pretty thick. So anyway, that's why I'm using Stone Coat here. I like Stone Coat. It's pretty much my go-to, unless I'm just doing a single coat finish, and then I really enjoy using art resin. So what I've done here is I mix the resin first. Whatever is thickest, I like to mix first. I put that down in my jug first because I can get a much better read on the second part, because if you add the thicker part to the thinner part, it takes a while for it to settle in there, and it's not as accurate, in my opinion. I mean, it's, however you want to do it, but that's the reason I do what I do with it. So Stone Coat Countertop is a 3-minute mix. It's 1-to-1, A to B, and so I'm just going to mix it up here with a stir stick for 3 minutes, making sure I do a really good job on the sides and scraping the bottom. That's, I think, is really key, especially when you're working in kind of, well, big amounts or smaller amounts, but when you've got only one small jug like this, or one small container like this, I think it's critical that you get that off. And then the other thing is probably not to leave the cup turned upside down. Especially, you wouldn't want to do that on a countertop. On art, it doesn't bother me quite as much. But anyway, just going to finish up here, stirring. And again, 3 minutes is the deal on that. So once I get that done, I'm just going to let it set for, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'll come back and start manipulating. So typically, I would use a 1/8 by 1/8 inch square notch trowel, but I did not have one here in the studio. The last one that I used is totally trash, and so I didn't order any new ones. Usually I have several of those just sitting around, but it doesn't matter. I'm using a paint stick here. It works fine. It's definitely not as handy. It takes, I think, a considerable amount more time to do it with a stir stick or something flat. You could use a credit card, debit card, whatever, door card. A square notch trowel is the best way to do it, and certainly if you're going to do anything big. I mean, this is a pretty small pour. It's only 27 ounces, so really tiny pour. So it wasn't quite as a big deal. But if you're doing anything larger, and certainly a countertop, you would want to use a square notch trowel. It's just much faster, and you get a much cleaner gauge, really, of resin. That's what the 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch is. So I'm just going to give this first coating as good as I can, get all the area coated to then be able to float some other resin and some micas and some paint in there. But I'm just going to take my time and do each one of those with the first quote-unquote coat as we're moving along here. All right, so you could see I grabbed the first group of micas. I'm going to turn it around, maybe you can see it a little bit better. But I grabbed the first group of micas and I just laced it on there. I'm going to use my little stir stick, which actually is a small tongue depressor, and just kind of move it around, manipulate it. Each one of them, I'm going to make sure that I have all of the areas coated so that the resin that I'm pouring on top of it will flow. All right, moving to the butterfly. It's upside down to us, but I'm putting kind of a base in there. Then I'll go ahead and throw on some spray paint, and you can see how that is coated. It's coated really solidly in the areas that I put it. what I had in that little small bottle was isopryl alcohol, and I'm just hitting the spray paint with isopryl alcohol after it sets there for a minute. Now the top Dragonfly, top to you, I had some issues with it. My level on that board, the board itself was warped, and so it kept moving to cover the body, and I did not want the body covered. So you'll see I struggle with that this entire pour, and it wasn't ideal. It wasn't what I was looking for. I mean, it's still fine, but wasn't really what I was looking for with it. So I'm onto the last butterfly here. Got it coated. Want to make sure again that I have the entire thing coated so that when I put any more resin on there or alcohol on there, that it actually covers and it doesn't get, stuck. All right, we'll go ahead and throw some resin on this next one. You can see I'm still battling with the Dragonfly. Here I'm just putting plain resin over the top of that. A lot of times if you just put resin straight out on top of it, it'll disperse the other resin and keep it away from there. It wasn't working with that because there was so much resin already on it. Okay, so my butterfly, I put the lemon yellow on, which was a really interesting color. Hadn't used it before, but ends up it's okay. But I think here, I think I grabbed the gold spray paint. I'm gonna go ahead and put some gold spray paint on here. Trying to shake it up a little bit before I do that. I hit everything with some isopryl alcohol on the other purple paint that was there. And in this bottle, it was just bronze. It was bronze mica powder mixed with isopryl alcohol. And that's what I sprayed over the gold spray paint. The gold spray paint is floating on top of the resin, and the mica powders, when you put them on there, first of all, the alcohol in there is a dispersant, and so it's going to create those kind of cells. The other thing that happens is some of those micas will then begin to drop as they disengage, and so it creates a different level, kind of a 3D effect in there, but it's you can kind of see through it. So anyway, that's kind of what I was doing with that. Here I'm just kind of sticking some more of the mica powder through it. I put some resin on the small frame piece, and I'm going over the plain resin ones just to make sure that I've got them coated. Usually I like to hit the corners and make sure the edges are fully covered. Usually it does take 2 coats on everything. I managed to get away with 1 coat on these, which is very, very unusual. Usually it's a 2-coat process. You would let these cure out, and then you would sand them and do whatever you needed to prep for a 2nd coat. Again, the Dragonfly is giving me fits. Adding some other mica to the blue morph. I think that was my that was my mica that goes from teal to purple. It's a really cool mica. So on the picture frame here, I'm just using whatever I had left over in the cups. I decided I had enough bronze colors to do it, so that's what I went with. There was quite a bit of that left over. Okay, and this is just putting white on. This is a white mica powders with isopro alcohol. And the same thing, what happens with that, you can't really see it unless you kind of tilt it in the light, but it's in there and there's a little sparklies, there's some bling that it adds to it, and it kind of floats around and makes some swirls and some different designs as well. Continue to fight with the Dragonfly. This whole pour I did that. Just add in some more resin and mica to the frame. Gonna add a little spray paint there. That was gold. After I did that, I hit it with the white mica and isopropyl alcohol mix. It will disperse that gold. And you'll see some pictures coming up. You'll see kind of what happens when you add those things together. So trying to wipe off my hands here and torch things off. See if I can keep my torch kind of clean. and I ran out of fuel on my small torch, so I grabbed my bigger torch there. And the one thing I want to mention is you really need to be careful if you're using mica powders with isopryl alcohol like I am. Early in the process, you saw there was a little flame up, and if you hit your project too soon after you've put isopryl alcohol with mica on there, it's definitely going to catch fire like that. So you usually just need to wait for a few seconds, and the isopryl alcohol in there will flash off a little bit, and then you can hit it and you won't have any troubles. But I do have a fire extinguisher that is actually within about 2 steps of me in there. So just a little safety concern. When you're using isopryl alcohol with close to a flame, that's always obviously a concern. So you got to be careful with that. We're just checking things out, making sure we've got everything covered. You'll notice I'm not worrying about the edges at all on these. I will kind of go over them with my hands and smooth them out, but I recognize that when there's this many this close together and I'm not working on just one nice big piece, it's much harder to keep the edges clean and smooth, and so I plan on having to sand those and repaint them. Okay, so that'll do it for this. I'll do a follow-up of all the pieces close up in part 3. Thank you. Have a nice day.